Dr. Mina Kim wiped the sweat from her forehead as she stared at the strange fighter ship in the dark underground hangar. The XF-7 Wraith looked nothing like the other human ships. It was sleek and black, with smooth curves that seemed to flow like water. She had spent 3 years building this ship, and it might be the most dangerous thing she had ever created. The ship was different because it used alien technology. 2 years ago, a small alien scout ship had crashed on Mars. Most of the ship was destroyed, but Mina and her team had found some interesting pieces. The aliens who built it thought in ways that humans never did. Their technology was clean and perfect, but it had no room for mistakes or creativity. Mina had taken those alien parts and mixed them with human engineering. The result was something that scared even her. The Wraith could think and react faster than any human pilot, but it needed a human mind to control it. Not just any human mind. It needed someone willing to let the ship into their thoughts. Lieutenant Jiho Park walked around the ship, checking the systems one more time. He was young, maybe 25, with quick hands and bright eyes. More importantly, he was crazy enough to volunteer for this test. The neural interface that connected pilot to ship was still experimental. The doctors said it might kill him, or worse, it might change his brain forever. "The connection looks good," Jiho said, touching the metal crown that would link his mind to the ship. "All the brain readings are normal." Mina nodded, but she was worried. The alien technology was beautiful and perfect, but humans were not. Humans made mistakes, got angry, felt scared. The ship was designed to use those messy human emotions as weapons. It could turn fear into speed, anger into firepower, and creativity into tactics that no computer could predict. The other alien races in the galaxy thought humans were too wild and dangerous. The Galactic Defense Coalition had rejected Mina's project 12 times. They said humans could not be trusted with such powerful technology. They preferred their own slow, safe ships that followed rules and procedures. But Mina knew something. The aliens did not understand. Sometimes being wild and unpredictable was exactly what you needed to win a fight. The hangar was quiet, except for the soft hum of the ship's power systems. Luna Base was built deep underground, hidden from the eyes of alien observers. Most of the galaxy still thought humans were primitive and weak. They had no idea that humans had been studying their technology and learning their secrets. Jiho climbed into the pilot's seat and began connecting the neural interface. Thin wires touched his temples, and immediately his eyes went wide. Mina watched the computer screens as his brain patterns changed. The ship was already reaching into his mind, learning how he thought and felt. "It's incredible," Jiho whispered. "I can feel the ship's engines like they're my own heartbeat. I can sense the metal walls of the hangar like they're touching my skin." Mina made notes on her tablet. This was the part that worried her most. The connection between human and machine was deeper than anything that had ever been tried before. Jiho was not just piloting the ship, he was becoming part of it. Suddenly, loud alarms began blaring throughout the base. Red lights flashed in the hangar, and an automated voice announced, "All personnel to battle stations. Unknown ships detected in outer system. This is not a drill." Mina felt her blood turn cold. They had been expecting this day, but hoping it would never come. For months, long-range sensors had detected strange signals from deep space. Ships were coming toward human territory, and they were not here to make friends. Admiral Day Wan's voice crackled over the communication system. "All units, we have multiple large ships entering the solar system. They are not responding to our messages. All colonies are ordered to prepare for possible attack." Jiho looked at Mina with excitement and fear in his eyes. "This is it, isn't it? This is what we've been preparing for." Mina nodded slowly. The Wraith had never been tested in real combat. They had run simulations and practice flights, but this would be different. If Jiho failed, he would die. If the ship failed, humanity might lose its best chance to defend itself. "The neural interface is holding steady," she said, checking her instruments. "But remember, this is still experimental. We don't know what will happen when you push the system to its limits." Jiho smiled, and for a moment he looked like the young pilot who had volunteered months ago. "Doc, I've been ready for this since the day I first saw your crazy ship. Let's show these aliens what humans can do when we stop playing by their rules. The hangar doors began to open, revealing the star-filled darkness of space. Somewhere out there, alien ships were approaching Earth with unknown intentions. The war that humanity had feared was finally beginning, and their best weapon was a prototype ship that might kill its own pilot. Mina stepped back as the Wraith's engines came alive with a sound like controlled thunder. The ship lifted off the hangar floor, and she could see Jiho's face through the cockpit window. He looked calm and focused, ready to test humanity's most dangerous creation against whatever was coming from the stars. The alien ships appeared in space like a nightmare made real. Admiral Day-Wan stood in the command center of Luna Base, watching the screen show hundreds of enemy vessels emerging from the darkness. Each ship was identical, long, silver, and sharp like a knife. They moved together in perfect formation, as if controlled by a single mind. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," called out Communications Officer Hana Lee. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook as she worked at her console. The main screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. It was tall and thin, with pale gray skin and large black eyes. When it spoke, its voice was cold and emotionless, like a machine trying to sound human. "Humans of Earth," the alien said. "I am Commander Vex of the Hegemony Fleet. Your species has been observed and found to be a threat to galactic order. You think in chaotic patterns. You make decisions based on emotion rather than logic. You are unpredictable and dangerous." Admiral Wan stepped forward. "This is Admiral Day-Wan of the Human Defense Force. We are a peaceful species. We have done nothing to threaten you." The alien's expression did not change. "Peace is irrelevant. Your very existence creates disorder in the galaxy. We have come to offer you one chance to avoid complete destruction. Surrender your worlds. Submit to hegemony control. We will allow some of your people to live as workers in our empire." "And if we refuse?" one asked, though he already knew the answer. "Then you will be eliminated. Every human world will be destroyed. Your species will become extinct. You have one standard day to decide." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in shocked silence. One looked around at his officers. Some were afraid, others angry, but all of them were waiting for his orders. In the underground hangar, Dr. Mina Kim was helping Jiho Park prepare for launch. The young pilot was already connected to the Wraith's neural interface, his mind linked to the ship's alien-enhanced systems. "The enemy ships are using some kind of network," Mina explained, showing him data on her tablet. "Every ship is connected to every other ship. They think together, move together, fight together. It makes them incredibly powerful against normal opponents." Jiho nodded, feeling the ship's systems respond to his thoughts. "But that's also their weakness, right? If they all think the same way, they can't adapt to something completely different." "Exactly," Mina said. "The hegemony has defeated dozens of other species because everyone fights the same way, with logic, rules, and predictable tactics. But humans don't think like that. We're chaotic, creative, unpredictable. Everything they say makes us dangerous is actually what might save us." On the surface of Luna, the first human defense ships were launching. They were big, slow vessels built with technology approved by the Galactic Defense Coalition. The ships followed standard battle procedures, moving in formation and using established tactics. The Hegemony fleet tore them apart in minutes. Admiral Wan watched in horror as his ships exploded one by one. The alien vessels moved with perfect coordination, predicting every human move and countering it instantly. It was like watching children fight against adults. "Sir?" called out Tactical Officer Jin Cho. "All surface defense platforms have been destroyed. The enemy is moving toward Earth." One closed his eyes for a moment. 20 years of preparation, and it was over almost before it began. The Coalition had promised that their approved technology would be enough to defend human space. They had been wrong. "Sir," Hana Lee said quietly, "Dr. Kim is requesting permission to launch her prototype." One opened his eyes. The Wraith project was classified at the highest levels. Most of his officers didn't even know it existed. The ship was experimental, dangerous, and completely untested in real combat. It was also the only hope they had left. Permission granted, one said. Tell Dr. Kim to launch immediately. In the hangar, Jiho felt the ship respond to his growing excitement and determination. The neural interface was working better than anyone had hoped. He could feel the Wraith's engines like they were part of his own body. He could sense the weapons, systems like extensions of his arms. Launch sequence initiated, Mina announced over the intercom. Remember, this is still experimental technology. Don't push the connection too hard too fast. Jiho smiled as the hangar doors opened above him. Don't worry, Doc. I'm not going out there to be careful. I'm going out there to show these aliens what humans do when someone threatens our home. The Wraith lifted off silently, its alien-enhanced engines producing no heat signature that enemy sensors could detect. As it rose through the lunar atmosphere, Jiho felt his consciousness expanding. The ship was becoming part of him, and he was becoming part of it. Above them, the hegemony fleet continued its advance toward Earth. The aliens were confident in their victory. They had defeated every species they had ever encountered using the same perfect tactics and flawless coordination. But they had never faced a human pilot connected to alien technology through pure instinct and emotion. They had never encountered someone willing to throw away all the rules of space combat and fight with creativity instead of logic. As the Wraith entered open space, Jiho felt a strange calm settle over him. For the first time in the war, a human ship was approaching the enemy not to delay the inevitable, but to hunt. Jiho Park flew the Wraith through space like he was dancing with death. The ship moved in ways that should have been impossible, spinning and diving through the enemy formation while alien weapons fired uselessly at empty space. The hegemony ships had perfect targeting computers, but they were designed to hit ships that flew in straight lines and followed logical patterns. The Wraith did not follow any patterns at all. Inside the cockpit, Jiho felt his mind expanding beyond anything he had ever experienced. The neural interface was working deeper than Dr. Kim had ever intended. He could feel the alien ships around him like they were objects in a dark room that he was navigating by touch. When enemy weapons locked onto him, it felt like someone pointing a finger at his back. Target acquired, he whispered, though no one could hear him in the vacuum of space. The Wraith's weapons responded to his thoughts, firing at an enemy ship that was trying to flank him. The alien vessel exploded in a brief flash of light. Back on Luna Base, Dr. Mina Kim watched her instruments with growing amazement and fear. Jiho's brain patterns were unlike anything in medical records. Sections of his mind that should have been dormant were lighting up like stars. New neural pathways were forming and dissolving in seconds, as if his brain was rewiring itself in real time. His vitals are off the charts, reported Medical Officer Yuna Shin. Heart rate, brain activity, adrenaline levels. Everything is beyond normal human limits. He should be unconscious or dead. Mina stared at the readings. He's not just piloting the ship anymore. He's becoming something new. Something that's part human and part machine. The battle in space was turning into something no one had ever seen before. The hegemony ships moved in perfect formation, each one knowing exactly what every other ship was doing. Their networked consciousness made them incredibly powerful against normal opponents. But Jiho was not normal. Every time the alien ships tried to predict his next move, he did something completely different. He flew through asteroid fields that should have destroyed his ship. He attacked from angles that should have been impossible. He made split-second decisions that no computer could calculate fast enough to counter. Commander Vex watched from the bridge of his flagship as the strange human ship tore through his formation. Analysis, he demanded from his tactical computer. Unknown, the computer responded. The enemy vessel displays no recognizable attack patterns. Its movements appear random, but they are achieving tactical objectives. Probability calculations are impossible. Vex felt something he had not experienced in centuries of conquest: confusion. The hegemony had defeated 47 different species using the same perfect tactics. Every intelligent race thought in logical patterns that could be predicted and countered. But this human ship seemed to think with pure chaos. Increase firepower, Vex ordered. Concentrate all ships on the single target. 50 hegemony vessels turned their weapons toward the Wraith. Enough firepower to destroy a small moon filled the space around Jiho's ship. But the young pilot felt the attack coming before the aliens even fired. Through the neural interface, he could sense their intentions like a cold wind on his skin. The wraith vanished. Not literally. It was still there, still flying through space. But it moved so unpredictably, changing direction and speed in ways that seemed to defy physics, that the enemy targeting systems lost track of it completely. To the aliens, it was as if the ship had become a ghost. Impossible, Vex said, watching his sensors. No ship can move like that. The pilot would be crushed by the acceleration. But Jiho was not being crushed. The neural interface was protecting him, using alien technology to keep his body alive while his mind pushed the ship beyond all reasonable limits. He felt every twist and turn, but the ship absorbed the forces that should have killed him. More enemy ships exploded as the wraith struck from impossible angles. Jiho was no longer thinking in words or conscious plans. He was fighting with pure instinct, letting his emotions guide the ship's movements. When he felt angry, the ship moved faster. When he felt determined, the weapons fired more accurately. The chaos began to spread through the hegemony formation. Their networked consciousness, which had been their greatest strength, became a weakness. When one ship became confused by Jiho's unpredictable attacks, that confusion spread to 10 ships, then 50, then 100. For the first time in their history, the hegemony fleet began to fall apart. "Sir," Communications Officer Hana Lee reported, excitedly from Luna Base. "We're picking up panic signals from the enemy fleet. Their formation is breaking down. Ships are colliding with each other." Admiral Wan could hardly believe what he was seeing on the tactical display. One small fighter was causing an entire invasion fleet to destroy itself through pure confusion. In space, Jiho felt the tide of battle turning. The enemy ships were no longer moving with perfect coordination. Some were trying to retreat. Others were firing wildly at shadows. The networked consciousness that made them so powerful was working against them now, spreading fear and uncertainty through their entire fleet. But the victory was coming at a cost. Jiho could feel himself changing with every passing minute. The neural interface was rewriting his brain, making him more machine than human. He was gaining incredible abilities but losing pieces of who he used to be. As another enemy ship exploded under his fire, Jiho wondered if he would still be human when the battle was over. When Jiho Park returned to Luna Base, Dr. Mina Kim knew immediately that something was wrong. The young pilot walked differently now, moving with mechanical precision that made her skin crawl. His eyes, which had once been bright and full of life, now seemed to reflect starlight in ways that human eyes should not. "How do you feel?" Mina asked as medical technicians removed the neural interface crown from his head. Jiho paused for a long moment, as if he had to think about the question. "Different," he said finally. His voice was the same, but there was something cold in it now. "I can still remember flying through space, but it feels like watching someone else's memories." The medical scans were worse than Mina had feared. Jiho's brain showed permanent changes in structure and activity. New neural pathways had formed that shouldn't exist in human minds. Some parts of his memory were gone completely, while other sections showed activity patterns that looked more like computer programs than human thoughts. "The connection went deeper than we planned," Mina explained to Admiral Wan in her private office. "The alien technology didn't just link with his mind, it rewrote parts of it. He's still human, but he's also something else now." Wan looked tired and worried. "Can you fix it? Can you bring him back to normal?" Mina shook her head. "I don't think so. And even if I could, I'm not sure he would want me to. The changes give him abilities that no normal human possesses. He can think faster, react quicker, and interface with technology in ways we never imagined possible." The victory in space had been overwhelming, but it was only the beginning. The hegemony fleet had retreated, but they would return with new ships and new tactics designed specifically to counter human unpredictability. Intelligence reports suggested they were already building vessels that could adapt to chaotic attack patterns. Military command wanted more Wraith fighters immediately. They demanded that Mina begin mass production of the neural interface, despite knowing what it would do to the pilots. The survival of humanity was more important than the mental health of a few volunteers. "We need a squadron," General Kim Sato told Mina during a secure video conference. "At least 12 ships with trained pilots. The enemy will adapt to fighting one ghost ship, but they can't handle multiple unpredictable variables at the same time." Mina stared at the general's image on her screen. "Sir, you understand what this technology does to people? Every pilot who uses the neural interface will be permanently changed. They might not be human when they're finished." "That's a price we have to pay," Sato replied coldly. "Find volunteers and begin training immediately. The hegemony won't give us time to develop safer alternatives." Within a week, Mina had 12 volunteers. They were all young pilots, eager for the chance to fight back against the alien invaders. None of them fully understood what they were volunteering for, despite Mina's careful explanations. They saw Jiho's enhanced abilities and wanted the same power for themselves. The training was brutal. Each pilot had to learn to merge their consciousness with alien technology while maintaining enough humanity to function. Some couldn't handle the mental strain and had to be removed from the program. Others adapted too well, losing pieces of their personality with each training session. Jiho helped train the new pilots, though he was barely recognizable as the person he had been before. He moved like a machine and spoke in careful, measured sentences. Sometimes Mina caught him staring at nothing, as if he was seeing data streams that only existed in his modified mind. "Don't fight the connection," he told the trainees during one session. "Let the ship become part of you. The more you resist, the more painful it becomes." Pilot Hana Jo raised her hand. "What if we lose ourselves completely? What if we forget who we were before?" Jiho looked at her with those strange starlight eyes. "Memory is just data," he said. "What matters is the mission. What matters is protecting humanity." Mina felt sick listening to him. The young man who had volunteered to test her prototype was gone, replaced by something that looked human, but thought like a hybrid of man and machine. The first squadron mission came sooner than expected. Hegemony ships attacked the outer colonies, using new tactics designed to counter unpredictable human behavior. This time they moved in smaller groups, with each ship operating independently to avoid the cascading confusion that had destroyed their previous fleet. 12 Wraith fighters, launched from hidden bases throughout the solar system, Jiho led them into battle, his enhanced mind coordinating their movements through encrypted communications that sounded more like computer code than human speech. The battle was fierce and chaotic. The hegemony ships had learned to expect unexpected attacks, but facing 12 unpredictable variables simultaneously overloaded their adaptive systems completely. Human creativity multiplied across multiple pilots, created patterns of chaos that no alien mind could follow. When the squadron returned, only 8 ships came back. The 4 missing pilots had pushed their neural interfaces beyond all safety limits, burning out their minds in final desperate attacks. The survivors were changed even more dramatically than before, their humanity fading with each mission. Mina watched Jiho's debriefing through one-way glass. He reported the deaths of his fellow pilots with the same emotionless precision he used to describe weapon performance and fuel consumption. The young man who had smiled at her before his first mission was gone forever, replaced by something that might save humanity, but was no longer entirely human itself. The final war spread across dozens of star systems like wildfire consuming dry grass. Jiho Park, no longer recognizable as the young pilot who had first tested the Wraith, led squadrons of hybrid warriors deep into hegemony territory. His consciousness now existed as much in digital space as in his physical body, allowing him to coordinate attacks across impossible distances. Dr. Mina Kim watched the battles from her laboratory on Luna Base, surrounded by rows of unused neural interface prototypes. Each victory came at a terrible cost. The pilots who survived their missions returned more machine than human, their original personalities dissolving into something new and alien. They were saving humanity by becoming something beyond it. Status report. Admiral Wan requested during His daily briefing: 17 enemy strongholds destroyed, reported Intelligence Officer Li Min. Our pilots are pushing toward the hegemony capital system. Enemy resistance is collapsing across multiple fronts. One nodded grimly. The war was being won, but he sometimes wondered what would be left of humanity when it was over. The Wraith. Pilots had become legends among the surviving colonies, but they were also becoming something that ordinary humans could barely understand. In the depths of space, Jiho felt the approaching end of the conflict like a change in cosmic weather. The hegemony's networked consciousness was fragmenting under constant pressure from unpredictable human attacks. Their greatest strength had become their ultimate weakness, as chaos cascaded through their command structure like a virus. Final. Target identified. He transmitted to his remaining squadron. His voice carried across quantum frequencies that normal human technology could not access. Capital System, Central Command, Nexus. Prepare for total integration. The surviving pilots acknowledged his orders with mechanical precision. They were no longer individuals in any meaningful sense, but rather extensions of a collective human will focused on a single purpose: the complete destruction of the hegemony threat. Mina received the transmission and felt her blood turn cold. Total integration meant pushing the neural interfaces beyond all safety parameters. It meant the pilots would merge completely with their ships, abandoning their physical bodies to become pure consciousness existing within alien technology. "Sir," she called to Admiral Wan over the intercom, "the squadron is preparing for a final assault on the hegemony capital, but the integration levels they're planning will kill them. Their bodies won't survive the process." Wan closed his eyes. "Will it end the war?" "If it works, yes, but we'll lose every remaining Wraith pilot. They'll cease to exist as human beings." "Give them permission to proceed," Wan said quietly. "They've already sacrificed everything human about themselves. At least let their sacrifice have meaning." The hegemony capital system was a fortress of metal and energy, protected by thousands of ships and defensive platforms. For centuries, it had been considered absolutely impregnable. No enemy force had ever penetrated its defenses, but no enemy had ever attacked it with pilots willing to abandon their humanity entirely. Jiho felt his consciousness expanding as he approached the central command nexus. The neural interface was drawing power from his life force itself, using his biological energy to fuel abilities that transcended normal physics. Around him, his squadron mates were undergoing the same transformation, their minds reaching into the quantum realm that connected all technology. The hegemony defenders fought desperately, but they could not counter an attack that existed partially outside normal space-time. The human pilots had become something new, creatures of pure thought and will that could manipulate energy and matter through focused intention. Commander Vex watched in horror as his capital defenses crumbled. "What are they?" he demanded from his bridge crew. "Unknown," his tactical computer replied. "The enemy appears to be operating outside established physical laws. Defensive calculations are impossible." As Jiho penetrated the central command nexus, he felt the vast network of hegemony. Consciousness spread out before him like a web of light. With his enhanced abilities, he could see the connections that linked every alien ship and station across the galaxy. All he had to do was reach out and break those connections. The process should have killed him instantly. The mental strain of hacking directly into an galactic-scale artificial intelligence was beyond what any biological brain could survive. But Jiho was no longer purely biological. The neural interface had made him into something hybrid, part human creativity and part alien technology. The hegemony network began to collapse as he inserted chaotic patterns into their perfect order. Ships that had operated in flawless coordination for millennia suddenly found themselves isolated and confused. The networked consciousness that had conquered dozens of species tore itself apart trying to process truly random information. In her laboratory, Mina watched Jiho's vital signs flatline as his physical body finally gave out, but his consciousness continued to exist within the ship's systems, transformed into something that was no longer bound by biological limitations. The war ended not with explosions or surrender, but with silence. Across the galaxy, hegemony ships simply stopped fighting as their network collapsed entirely. The perfect order they had imposed on themselves became chaos, and they could not function without their collective intelligence. When rescue teams reached the capital system weeks later, they found the Wraith ships floating empty in space. The pilots' bodies were gone, consumed by the transformation that had saved humanity. But sometimes deep space monitoring stations detected strange signals from the quantum realm between stars. Mina stood in her empty laboratory, looking at Earth. Through the observation windows, human children were already learning to interface with technology that would have been impossible before the war. The species was evolving, adapting, becoming something new. Humanity had survived by embracing the chaos that other species feared. And in doing so, they had discovered that their greatest weakness was actually their greatest strength.